I wanted to talk about being in alignment and how, when we're in alignment with what we really desire, what we really want to do, when we're following the intelligence of our heart, then we are supported. When we actually trust that our heart has its own intelligent system, when we can take that leap and trust its guidance, then we're actually supported, and it's really quite magical. So I'll share a story about the time in my life when I decided that I wanted to be a therapist. And at the time, I was working in like a sales role at a radio station. And I had got into that role by just kind of following the normal path, I suppose, that's expected. You know, you go to school, you go to university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't have a strong passion really for anything, or at least I wasn't in touch with it up until that point. And I just kind of chose things that I was good at. So I had studied media in university, and then I went on to land that role in radio. And I didn't really enjoy it. I knew that it wasn't something that I was going to stay in, but I did learn something. Well, it did help me to understand what I was actually passionate about, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I was there and I was doing this job, didn't really enjoy it. And so I started thinking about what's the next step in my life. And in this role, I would go out with the people like in the sales team. So I would go out in the car with them to do these sales calls. I was the creative. So I would go along with these salespeople and would go to pitch our ideas for their creative radio campaigns. And while we were in the cars and I was talking with these people, and they would just kind of naturally open up about their life, about their problems, challenges they were facing. And I really enjoyed this time out of the entire role. I enjoyed this time where I'd really get to know a person and I'd feel really drawn to just listening and kind of supporting them and sharing my perspective as well. So I kind of thought maybe I could do this professionally. Is there a role where I could do, I could do this part? And I thought that because I hadn't studied psychology or anything like that, I thought that becoming a therapist would mean that I'd have to kind of take years out to study and learn. And I did, but it was a lot shorter than what I imagined, because I'd already been to university, I already had a degree, so I could do a postgraduate diploma, which was a quicker route. So while I was working at this radio station, I decided to kind of look up, how do I become a therapist? And it was quite vague at the time. It was a role that certainly there weren't a lot of younger people doing it. I was in my mid-20s, and it was a role that a lot of older people would typically do. And so it was a bit of a mystery. How do you become a therapist? How do you get into this field? So I sent a few emails out. I sent an email out to this ethical body that I'm a member of, asking what is the route, how do you get into this profession? So they sent me an email back and they told me the route, how I would get into it. They asked me what qualifications I already had, and so then what I needed to do to become a therapist. So they told me I would need to do this, like an initial certificate. It was like a 10-week course. It was like an introductory course to then go on to do the next stages. And this is where the alignment starts to kick in. So I'd already taken that step. I was on the path. I was on the route. And they told me that the certificate, so the place where I would go and do the certificate, was literally in a building right across from where I worked. So that would be perfect for me. And it was an evening class, which started exactly like half an hour after I finished work. So yeah, you can't really write this. This was just amazing. It was like, yeah, here you are, you can do it, and it's right there, and it starts exactly this right time. So I could finish work, go get a snack, go get some food, and then go to this course. So I did that. I started attending this course after work, and it was a 10-week course. And when I did it, I was just, yeah, it felt in my heart. I could feel that this is what I want to do. I remember taking those first classes and just feeling so full in my heart and feeling almost like I wanted to cry, because everything that was being taught, everything that was being said just felt so in alignment with me and my values and my beliefs. So it felt really right. I knew I was on the right path. So I continued to do this course, and I finished it up, and it was like, okay, we're going on to the next step now. And the next step would be, I guess, a bit more of a commitment, because I was working full time in my role at the radio station. The next step meant that it was like a year-long course, and it would be in the daytime. So it meant that there would have to be quite an adjustment. I couldn't go part-time in my role. I really wasn't earning much money. I didn't really know how I was going to make it work. So I decided that I did want to do the course, but I didn't yet know what it was going to look like, because I couldn't go part-time in this role. So I didn't know how I was going to support myself. So rewind to before all of this, before I got the job at the radio station, I had taken a course. So I left uni. I was kind of like aimless. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'd moved back home with my parents. I knew that I loved music, and I had quite a few friends at the time who were DJs, and I have always loved music. Music's a huge part of my life. I'm always playing music, and I just decided, it seemed pretty random, but I just decided I want to be a DJ. I want to learn how to do that. It seems really fun. So I had taken a little course. Again, this was like another 10-week course or something, in DJing skills. And that was really just for fun. I had really no intention of kind of pursuing it as anything that would kind of give me money, but I knew that like it was just something fun. I enjoyed it, and I wanted to learn how to do it. So I did that course. So fast forward again to being at the radio station, wanting to do the next stage, the year-long course to become a therapist. Committing to that, being in a place that I didn't really know how I was going to do this, how I was going to commit to the daytime while working full time. And at the time, I was dating somebody, and they were a DJ, and he received a call about this chain of restaurants that were looking for specifically female DJs to cover their lunchtime through to nighttime sessions. So they wanted a DJ to to play all day on, I think it was like a Friday and a Saturday. And that would pay enough to support me. So I only needed to do 2 days doing that, and that would support me for the week. So again, you can't really, it's just incredible how things rearrange and shift when you are aligned with what's really in your heart, what's really meant for you, what you're meant to follow. So it just seemed like a call that popped out of nowhere. So I took it, of course. I said, yes, I'm doing this. And then that would support me to do this year-long course to become a therapist. So I left my job. I handed my notice in. I said, this isn't for me. And what is for me is to become a therapist. That's what I've decided. And so I spent then the next 3 years retraining. So I did that year-long course, and then it was like another 2 years to do the postgraduate diploma. So it was about, say, 3.5, nearly 4 years in total to retrain. And the whole time I did my DJing, I picked up other little part-time jobs on the days that I wasn't studying. But the DJing really kind of supported me because it was super flexible. I earned good money by doing small, not too many hours. So it was really perfect. And it carried me through, and I became a therapist. I finally got my diploma, got my postgraduate diploma, and I was off. And now I'm thinking about it more, there was more alignment as I went on, because when I finished, when I got my diploma, then I met my current partner, and we knew we were going to move to another city. So I knew I needed a job in another city. I didn't quite feel confident enough yet to set up my private practice. So I thought it would be safer to get an employed role. And an employed role came up for a newly qualified therapist as well, specifically newly qualified, probably because they could pay you less, but it didn't matter. A newly qualified therapist in the city that I was moving to. Went to the interview and got it. And this pretty much lined up exactly with the dates that we wanted to move to the new city. So it's really amazing that when you do follow your heart, things just line up. There were doubts along the way. There was times when I thought, how am I going to do this? How am I going to support myself? What's the next step? It wasn't really clear, but I just had this strong desire and strong knowing that being a therapist is what I want, is what I feel really most aligned with. Now that's evolving, things are changing. I have different interests. I'm kind of evolving through that role. But it's really amazing to look back and to see that this is a time when I was really supported, because it inspires me to now follow what I feel is truly right for me and what truly fits. So with that being said, I'm opening up a conversational space. This is a chance just to have a conversation. If you resonate with anything that I talk about on here, any of my content, I'm giving the chance just to have a conversation. This isn't therapy. This isn't anything clinical. It's just a conversational space where I can bring my experience, bring my personal experiences, and offer support just as myself. So if you're interested in that, there's a link that you can follow below to book in with me, and feel free to reach out. And I really hope that this story has inspired you to follow the guidance of your heart, because there is an intelligent system within there. It doesn't make logical sense sometimes, because we're not following the mind anymore, we're going with the heart. And that takes trust. It takes a huge leap of trust. And I wanted to make another video about trust. But for now, yeah, I'll leave that here, and I hope it's inspired you, because remembering this story has inspired me. Take care.